Hi FlossTube Stitchers, welcome back for video 161 from Just Stitching Inc. And I was going to call this one Hodgepodge because there is absolutely no theme tonight, but when I looked at my list of FlossTube video titles, which yes, because I'm weird that way, I have a list of them so I don't repeat myself. I had one called Hodgepodge in 2020. So I thought, well, I could call this Hodgepodge too, or I could look up synonyms. So I decided to call this one Mishmash. I can't tell you the last time I used that word in conversation, but this is a mishmash. It's all cross stitch, but there's just no other theme besides that. My vintage stitch this week has glass on it, so I practiced how to, yes, okay, so I practiced the angle in which to show it so that there would be the least amount of glare. And you know, I have various tricks that I use that people have taught me over the years for eliminating the glare, but it's hard to do when you're holding something on camera. I know you can't see it, but it actually says the word dandelion in a color that closely matches the fabric, so it's kind of cool. It's kind of in the background. And this was stitched with flower thread in the suggested colors by the designer Curtis Bowinger. I don't know if you remember him from years ago, but I think I showed his strawberry a couple weeks ago, I guess. This was another one that was done as a store model to show off the fact that we carried the flower thread and that we carried his designs. And I loved the frame that we chose because it kind of picks up the weird combination of blue-greens that are used in the stitching. And then the gold is actually a part of the frame, and the mat is a wider beveled mat in linen, and so it kind of looks like you're looking out a window almost. Anyway, that's dandelion, and I love putting that out in the spring. It actually looks good with my bees and strawberries, so if I have room for it, I include it in those groupings. And then my vintage stitch is something that I got back not too long ago from the framer, and I was holding off showing it because I don't have the charts right now, and I didn't think they would be coming anytime soon. The title is not carried by the distributors anymore. It's not that old, but I don't know how they make these decisions, but the title's not available right now except from the designer direct, which is Lucy Beam. So I have two reasons for showing it to you today. It's called Thankful Pumpkins. So the first reason is that I wanted to talk about the Needlework Marketplace that's coming up at the end of the month. And yes, I'm pretty sure she's going to be participating because that's I'm planning on ordering these with whatever order I place at market. And secondly, she is one of the designers that I'm currently doing buy one get one because I've had excess stock left over from trunk shows and things like that, and so that's another reason so that I can push my buy one get one for designers. And I'll put the slide at the end of this video again with the names of all the designers. I'm going to do it through the end of the month because that's the easiest thing to do rather than picking a random date that people will forget. So I'm just going to do it till the end of the month, even though Marketplace is the last weekend, but a few days before the end of the month. I stitched that one on 30 count sunflower seed legacy linens, and it's a beautiful kind of homespun fabric that's even though it's 30 count, it's a tighter weave, so I really like the way the stitches look on that. And then the gift this week is one of her newer charts called Cross Stitch Makes Everything Okayer, and so I thought I would tie that in by using this as the gift this week. And I'd like you to just use the word okay in your comment somehow if you would like to be in the drawing for that. Okay, then my whips, I'm kind of going in, I guess I'm going in alphabetical order by designer, but I guess this is also the order in which I stitched them this week. So I went back to working on God Save the Queen by Annie B's Folk Art. And if you watched last week's video, you know that I'm not able to go much farther because I only had 3 of the colors used, and I still haven't figured out when I'm going to order needlepoint ink silk, so I may have to put this away for a while. But I did go back to it and add part of the web, hive. I have cobweb on the brain there for Halloween, I don't know why. But I did part of the hive up there so that I could get myself to the point where I could start the bee without having to count too much. So I did the black part of the bee except for a couple more legs and the crown on top. So anyway, I have a lot of tails on the back, which I need to wind under, and I didn't do it at the time that I was stitching because it requires a smaller needle. So one of these days, while I'm in between customers or watching FlossTube or listening to my audiobook, I'll sit and get a higher sized needle with a smaller eye and wind all those tails under, and then it'll be all set for later whenever I get my silk order. Then I worked on Strawberry Patch by Erin Elizabeth, and I got a lot farther on this. I almost thought I would finish it this week, but I don't know, I didn't feel like working on it every single day. And another reason is I'm still fussing with the greens. I'm just gonna dull them up a little bit because they were a little bright for me. But since last time, I believe, did I have any of the box done last time? I might not have had any of the box done, and then I added the word patch in the middle, and I know you're probably not going to be able to see this on camera, but there was transfer of the red on the white. I did the white first on purpose, and it's DMC 321, so it's not an overdye, and I used beeswax as a thread conditioner, which I think helps that situation. But it didn't. And that bottom row of white, maybe you can see it under the C, but it's basically along that whole bottom row that there's some transfer. And I just don't think there's anything I can do about it. I don't think tape would work. I looked to see whether some of it was just fuzz, so I may do some tape on the back side where it wouldn't damage anything, but I think I'm just gonna have to live with it and hope that people don't notice it. There's a little bit under the top of the T as well when I look close. So it's a little disappointing seeing as it wasn't overdye and I used some precautions, but it is what it is. Then the next one, I only worked on this for a couple hours one day, but I got back to my Christmas Eve. And maybe next year I'll have to do the ornaments because I always intended on doing those as well. But I finished the top border and I needed to finish the antlers on one of the reindeer. And then I did all of the snowflakes up in that corner. And I was going to do a little more on the same day that I was working on this, but I realized that I didn't have all of the floss still with the project, even though I had used some of the colors already. I didn't have the 420 that I needed for the teddy bear. I didn't have the gray for the smoke. And I didn't have the one for the word Christmas, which that could have been a different reason. But I obviously borrowed them to work on other things over the years. So I just need to find that floss, and it really won't take me long to finish that. So that was my stitching for the week. Then we just got 2 automatics. And next week I will have the Atomic Ranch automatic fabric, because I already got a shipping notice and it's going to be here tomorrow, so I won't get it till Tuesday because I don't work on Mondays. And since I never know when exactly they're going to show up, I can't sit around and wait for it on my only day off of the week. So I'll have that on Tuesday. So for sure I will have that fabric to show you. I got another shipping notice from a distributor, which I think is some back-ordered fabric, although they didn't say what was in the shipment, but I know I had some fabric that was out of stock at the time. And then I will also have 2, 3, or 4 automatics, depending on if they all arrive by Saturday. So I'll have a little more interesting things to show you next week. But this week we got the next 2 installments of Jingle All the Way from Amy Brecken Designs, number 5 and number 6. And you can still participate in this. It uses 28 count flax linen, but you can, do 14 or whatever count you want, 25 count, however you want it to finish. If you buy the whole series, you can eliminate the lettering and just do them as individual pictures or ornaments. So that came. She has other new designs that are going to be available during Needlework Marketplace. And then Stitching with the Housewives, we have the monthly weigh-in for October. Do you follow their Facebook group? Have you seen all the people that are already stitching this and all of the antique, vintagey scales they're using? This is from, I don't want to say the wrong thing. Yes, Paisleys and Polka Dots. I knew they had to say it on the back. And you paint it yourself, but other people have shown different things that they've purchased, so it's been really fun to see that. I don't have a vintage scale, but I may look for one the next time I have time to go to a flea market, or even some of the craft shows have like a section of the building that they might have thrift type things in it, depending on who's sponsoring it, but I hardly ever get to go to those anymore because they're usually on Saturdays. Then Pumpkins Please. I meant to look this up. I believe this was published previously. Maybe it was in a Punch Needle magazine, but that's out for the general public now. And then the third one is Welcome Home Fall, which is the second in that series. So that's all the new stuff we got. Because of Needlework Marketplace, there may not be a video on the last Sunday in August. I was thinking of doing my bee stitching video that day, but judging by all the work that's involved, even in just participating from home in an online marketplace, and all the decisions that have to be made, and I've already started working on collages to post for potential product that I'll be ordering. Just knowing everything that's involved in that, plus the fact that the show goes on Sunday, so I won't be able to do the other administrative things that I usually do on Sundays when I come in. I just don't think I better promise the bee video for that weekend, and next week is too soon to do it. So I think I'm going to do the bee stitching video on the Sunday before Labor Day, which I think is September 3rd. So if you still have bee pictures that you're finishing or that you need to take a photo of yet, I have gotten quite a few so far, but there's still room to post more. So if you still want to send those to me through Facebook Messenger or email, you can still do that. So that's kind of my plan. I don't think I have enough to even do a bloopers reel on that Sunday, so don't be surprised. But if there is one, it'll be a happy circumstance, but don't be surprised if there's not. Okay, I have another fair video to put at the end of this. So last week we went to the Medina County Fair, which is the county that we live in now. We've been there a little over 20 years. For the first 20 some years that we were married, we lived in Cuyahoga County, which is also the county that our shop is in. So we went to this one on Thursday. We missed the discount for senior citizens, or classics, as they called us last week. We missed that. It was on Tuesday, and I had the weeks wrong, and I wasn't thinking this was the week for that fair. So we went to that on Thursday, spent a lot of time in the buildings because it did start to rain. We were already in a building looking at things, animals, I think, when the rain started, and then there were some other activities that we could wander through while we waited out the rain. I'm so glad we went then because it was really nasty the next 2 nights, and they closed the rides, and I'm sure it was just horrible for the vendors that were trying to sell food and that sort of thing. So I'm glad we went when we went. So I'll put a little video, I think it's 4 minutes or something at the end of this if you would like to see. We do like to try something different at each fair that we go to. So last week we saw the junior sheep showing. We'd never done that before. I love to watch the dog agility, but we can't always make it at that time or at that night. And I think since we're both seniors now, we do like to take advantage of the free admission. But this week, we accidentally ran across the junior rodeo. And I put it in quotes because there were no real animals involved, but it was kind of cute. And it took up some time while we were waiting for the rain to slow down. So I have that as part of the video at the end. And I think that's all I wanted to say about the fair. Okay, the winner of last week's Abracadabra kit is Jan McCarson, and I already have her address on file, so I'll get this out the next time I go to the post office with mail orders. That takes care of that. And then, let's see. Oh, I wanted to say, her favorite thing about Halloween is candy. Hello, of course, we buy candy even though we don't participate in trick or treat. She said she loves to stitch Halloween, and she mentioned Teresa Kogut as a designer that has a lot of cute things to stitch for Halloween. I agree. She has some of the best out there. They're very labor intensive, stitch intensive, but they're wonderful Halloween designs. Okay, is that everything for that? So I also wanted to talk about the Tour de Stitch because that's coming up in October. And I will put a slide at the end so you can get a closer look at all the participating shops. And if you're in Ohio or even Pennsylvania, Michigan, or Indiana, because we've had lots of visitors in the past from those states, you might consider doing your own little girlfriend's weekend or some day trips or a little retreat with friends. You could bring your husband and your family too, because there's other things to do. In every city, there's something else that you can do, or send them off to a museum or whatnot. But anyway, it's definitely worth it. We've scaled back a little bit from what we used to do pre-COVID, but we are still offering a $100 gift certificate from each participating shop. That's on us. That's our gift to you from anybody who comes to our shop. And then out of the final count of people that finish the tour, because we'll get that from the sign-up sheets, we will draw one winner to get a $200 gift certificate to the shop of their choice among the 7 participating shops. So you don't have to worry about winning a prize that you already have or don't want or end up giving to a friend. You'll actually get, store cash to use on what you want or what you need in the way of floss and fabric. So wanted to make sure I talked about that, and I actually think that's it. So I talked about what's coming up in the next couple weeks and announced a few things and everything. I hope I remember to write everything on my list because I'm done with the list. So have a great week. Thanks for watching. I appreciate you all. And you can email me anytime about anything you see behind me or anything I mentioned that you wanted more information on, or anything you see in my social media posts. So all of my shop information is listed in the show notes. Try to remember to do it every week to post it there. So I think that's it. Enjoy the animals. Bye.
One second, let's what are we doing here? Why are we even here? I'm just getting dizzy watching. I don't know what's happening. Make sure you're watching this. Give him a encouragement. Let's cheer him up! Three, two, one, go! No.
We're just giving a $100 gift certificate we're just giving a $100 gift certificate. Boppity boppity boo.